In the future year of 2016, war is raging across Africa when a mysterious machine of mass destruction begins to appear, destroying weapons on both sides of the conflict. This is Granada! Granada is one of 12 games included in Evercade cartridge 23, Renovation Collection 1. Granada was developed by Wolf Team originally for the Japanese Sharp X68000 in 1990 and then was released for the Sega Mega Drive later that same year. 1 month after the Sega Mega Drive release, the game was brought over to the Sega Genesis in North America by Renovation. There were no other ports for this game. So the game's story. Well, I've tried to figure it out from multiple sources, such as the game's original manual, the Evercade manual, and whatever else I could piece together from online sources. And the least helpful source in trying to nail down the story is the game itself, which only has an opening text scroll that starts with Granada. Nobody knows who named it. What? Who named it is probably the least important thing to know. What we do know is that Granada is a HyperTank cannon tank, or HCT, being piloted by Leon Todo. While in Japan, Leon was contacted by an agent of the Private Enterprises Intelligence Department, or PEID, who gave him a floppy disk containing a job request. Shortly afterwards, the agent mysteriously turns up dead. So Leon accepts the job. But we're never actually told what that is. All we know is that Leon winds up in Tabora, an actual place in Africa. While there, he finds the Granada, but there's nobody from the PEID around, which is pretty suspicious. From that point, we can only assume that that scenario leads into the game where you control the Granada, destroying other HCTs regardless of who they belong to. But why is Leon doing this? I can't find any explanation for Leon's actions after he finds the Granada. It's like there's this whole huge plot element that's completely missing. And if you only follow the plot the game gives you, all you'll know is that nobody knows who named the Granada. It destroys all weapons it encounters, and only those who have actually happened to have seen it know the truth. Well, perhaps they should have gotten one of those people to tell the story. Seeing as how this game is influenced by various arcade games from the time, the focus is more on gameplay than it is the plot anyway. You get an overhead view of the action as you pilot the super tank as you hunt down and destroy the enemy. Each major HCT is marked on a mini-map, making it fairly easy to hunt them down as they are your primary targets. Once all the HCTs are eliminated, the boss of the level will then appear. You'll have to destroy all the HCTs as well as the boss within the allotted time limit in order to proceed to the next stage. Your tank can move in 8 directions, and it will fire rapid shots in the direction it is facing, including the frames shown as the tank is turning, so you can actually fire in 16 directions. There is a button that allows you to lock the direction the tank is facing, and this will allow you to fire in the same direction while still maneuvering the tank freely. You can also fire a super powerful shot, but the drawback is that the tank will recoil in the opposite direction the shot is made. You can use this to your advantage to quickly dodge enemy fire, but it must be used carefully if you're on an elevated stage because the recoil could potentially knock you off a ledge, causing you to lose a life. You can also lose a life if the timer runs out or if all the tank's health is depleted. But I don't believe there's any way to replenish the tank's health. However, there are support units that can be encountered throughout the game that can help you out, such as the reflectors, which will hover around Granada and fire its own bullets. A disc-like object that can attach to Granada and deflect bullets and also be deployed to fire multi-directional bullets before returning, and also an item that will cause a massive blast, destroying all enemies within the blast radius. I thought Granada was a pretty fun game to play overall. It takes a little time to get used to locking your tank in the direction you want to fire, but I eventually got used to it, though it can be a bit of a pain sometimes because you can't just change directions instantly, as you have to allow time for the tank to rotate in the right direction before locking it down. This means that sometimes you'll be maneuvering the tank in directions you really don't want to go just because you want to fire in that direction. I was playing this primarily on the Evercade VS using an arcade controller, and it's something I would highly recommend for this game as I found it's more comfortable than a gamepad since you'll be holding down multiple buttons for an extended period so you can lock the gun and provide constant fire. I tried to play this with the standard Evercade gamepad one time because I was too lazy to go get the arcade controller, But that was so uncomfortable that I had to switch to the arcade controller anyway. The game itself was a lot longer than I was expecting it to be. There are 9 very unique levels, each with its own distinct boss. The game starts to get brutally difficult about halfway through though, and after level 5 I kept thinking that this has got to be the last level, and then shocked when the game just kept going. Now I know the plot isn't really that important in a game like this, but the game's manual really tries to build up the story and makes us wonder what's going on with the PEID. Now I wouldn't normally do this, but I'm going to spoil the game's ending because it's something I really want to bring up here, so skip ahead to the next section of the video if you don't want spoilers. Okay, so all throughout the game you aren't given an ounce of information about what's been going on, and then when you beat the last level you'll get another text scroll that begins with, "The war is over, but has it really ended?" I don't know, and why would you bring it up if you don't know either? It then says that Leon lost to Granada. What? How? I clearly survived the last level and there's nothing that showed it getting destroyed or anything. Now he will have to fight against the surviving forces of the PEID himself. Huh? I was fighting the PEID the whole game? Why? Is it because they killed that one agent that gave Leon the floppy disk? Leon walks away and nobody knows whatever happened to him. Well, isn't that just a great resolution for our protagonist? So let's recap. Leon is given the keys to the Granada for some unknown reason. He then fights against the PEID for 9 levels and we really don't know what his motivation is. Then, after he successfully completes his mission, the Granada is destroyed in some unknown manner and Leon just walks away and nobody knows what happened to him after that. I mean, I know the plot is an afterthought in a game like this, but come on! But really, Granada was not at all what I was expecting from a game where you control the tank. It plays a lot faster than I thought it would, but it's also much longer and difficult than I was expecting as well. But the story is so bad and confusing they probably would have been better off without one. So here we are with our rankings for the games in the Renovation Collection 1. And we're going to take Granada and I'm going to place it on a tier A, and I'm going to put it ahead of Arcus Odyssey because, you know, these games kind of are a bit similar in the way they play, but I do like Granada better. And here we are with our rankings of all the Evercade games, and we've got to take Granada, shoot it on up to tier A, and find a place for it. Well, it definitely has to be above Arcus Odyssey because I did say I liked it more than that. But I think I'm going to place it right here, right above the arcade version of Missile Command and right under the Atari 7800 version of Asteroids. Alright, for tips and tricks, I've got an interesting variety here. We'll start with the hidden power-up you can find in Stage 2, where the fighting takes place on top of a flying battleship. From the starting point, head left onto the wing of the plane and fight your way until the very end. There you'll find a pole heading downward on the screen that you can drive on. If you drive until the very tip of that pole and wait a few seconds, an odd-looking power-up icon will fly right into your tank, and that will give you a mega upgrade on your firepower. Next, how about a weird glitch? There are plenty of levels where you can fall off the stage and instantly lose a life, like level 2 for example. If you happen to fall off the stage while the timer runs out, you'll explode in midair, and when you respawn with your next life, you'll find that you can now just fly anywhere around the stage wherever you'd like. This will be in effect until you lose all of your lives and get a game over. I found that this glitch can be insanely helpful on the last stage of the game if you're inclined to use it. Lastly, I've got a pretty hilarious Easter egg, but it does occur after you beat the game and after the end credits have run, so consider this a spoiler alert if you don't want to see anything dealing with the end of the game, and you can skip to the next section of the video. So, for anyone else remaining, the game's end credits will roll as Leon is walking away from the burning wreckage of the aftermath of the final battle. The credits will continue to roll until Presented by Wolf Team freezes on the screen. At this point, you'll have to hold down the A button for 15 seconds, and that's the A button on a Genesis controller. For the Evercade controller, I believe the Genesis A button defaults to the X button. Anyway, if you hold the button down for 15 seconds, Leon will trip and fall humorously, leaving his feet stuck permanently in the air. What a way to end the game. And that'll wrap it up for Granada. Next time we'll be looking at Soldice from the same cartridge, Renovation Collection 1.